Welcome everyone to the Founder Institute Silicon Valley graduation event. My name is Ryan Micheletti and I'm head of global operations for the Founder Institute. We are the world's largest pre-seed startup accelerator. So over the last 12 years, we've had over 5,000 companies go through the program. And so we were founded in 2009 by our co-founder and CEO, Adeo Ressi and John Gresham. And we have the world's largest mentor network of 20,000 mentors. And so we're extremely honored and proud of all of the graduates and are happy to host you for today's event. As head of operations, I also run the flagship FI Silicon Valley program. So I not only work with the leaders around the world that operate the Founder Institute, but we also run the Founder Institute Silicon Valley Accelerator. And we're proud to say that we actually run one of the toughest programs in the world. And so every single one of the founders that are graduating today have done an amazing job on their journey to build their startup company through the program. And so just some high level stats, we had over 1,400 people apply to the Founder Institute Silicon Valley, out of which a subset were accepted, and we had 130 or a little bit over 130 enroll into the program. And only the top 27 founders graduated across 26 companies because there are a couple co-founders in the program. And so you can see here that the program is one of the toughest in the world, not just within Founder Institute, but the Founder Institute itself is one of the toughest programs in the world. And so we're excited to share with you the pitches and also a keynote for today. And so before we jump into the content, let me just give you a quick agenda. So in a moment, I'm going to welcome Cindy to the stage here. Cindy is one of our cohort presidents, and she's going to talk a little bit about the Founder Institute and a fundraiser that the alumni have put together. And then after that, we're going to do a keynote with our very own founder of Trugenomix, Charles Cathlin. He is an FI alumni as well. And then after that, we're going to play about 12 different pitches from the cohort. So the alumni who are presenting today, we've got 12 founders out of the 26 that will be playing their 3-minute pitch. And then after the session, we're going to do a networking event with the founders. So if you want to stick around and meet with some of the founders, talk to them afterwards, we're going to continue into the lounge, which everyone was just in, where we're going to Awesome. Cindy, first of all, congratulations on graduating and also being nominated as president. I've loved seeing the trajectory of your company throughout the program. You've made excellent progress. And not only that, but you're also doing an impact company, which is really, really cool to see. And so why don't you talk a little bit about the fundraiser and if there's anything else that you want to cover today, feel free.
Yes, thank you so much, Ryan, and good day to everyone. And I know that we're actually probably across 5 time zones. So hello, everybody. I'm Cindy Lin. I'm co-founder of Hey Social Good. We're a data company revolutionizing social good for people, planet, and profit. And I'm really honored to be here to represent my class of 27 founders and 26 companies working on awesome solutions. And I can't wait for all of you guys to learn about them. I just want to really reiterate something that Ryan said earlier, which is the hardest and toughest accelerator. Now, I've never been in other accelerators, but I have been in school a lot, have a bunch of hours of schoolwork under my belt. And I will tell you that this is probably one of the toughest. Between our sweat, pain, and sleepless nights, we couldn't imagine the things that we achieved, hundreds of different pages of reports that we wrote, talking to probably like dozens of customers. And so it was all amazing. We'll never learn so much and so quickly in a short amount of time. And I know that every single one of us feels so much better for it. And even though we were really challenged with honest feedback, we felt so, I think, intentional guidance and mentorship along the way. And we really wanted to show that gratitude with not just t-shirts, but with a fundraiser. And it was actually an idea that was planted in our head by Noah Wallach. And if he's here, hey, Noah. And he had this amazing, inspiring idea of let's do a fundraiser. And we got, as a group, chose 2 fundraisers. Actually, this is how high achievers we are. We have 15 charities, and we had to actually do a whole poll. We ended up with 2 charities, which is Feeding America and the Ashoka organization, which funds young change makers and young social entrepreneurs from around the world. And in 4 days, we actually raised $1,552.53 to Feeding America and Ashoka. And just a little bit of stats, if we split that funds in half, we funded 7,750 meals. These are nutritious meals that actually worked with Feeding America before, and about 10 plus stipends for fellows with Ashoka. So it's super exciting. Thank you so much to Founder Institute, to Ryan, Mike, and Scout, guiding us along the way, and to my cohort of amazing co-founders along the way. I really see you as part of my family, and I'm just excited to keep moving forward and working with all of you. Thanks for everybody, and thanks, Noah.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy. I mean, truly, you are one of the reasons why we run Founder Institute. And it's not just about building companies, but it's also building this network of great people and founders that are supporting each other. And so if you remember at the beginning at orientation, I told you that, by the end of the program, you're going to feel like family. And so, it's really great to see all of the founders coming together to do some good in the world.
Yes, totally. We're super excited.
All right. Well, thank you, Cindy. I'll take it from here. And I just also put the link to the fundraiser in the chat. So if anyone wants to contribute, I'd love to try and get this to over $2,000. And we can submit the money through the link there. So anyway, let's move on. I would love to introduce now Charles Cathlin, who is an Air Force veteran, FI alumni, and the CEO of Trugenomix, which is a behavioral health company that uses the power of genomics to advance the diagnosis and treatment of PTSD. So they're making really, really great strides in this space. Super interesting company. Charles and I have been working together for the last couple years now, it feels like. And so, Charles, I'd like to welcome you to the event. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invite. And good morning. As Ryan said, my name is Charles Cathlin, CEO of Trugenomix. I'm a retired U.S. military veteran, and I connected with the Founders Institute through the Veteran Founder Initiative Program, which support veteran founders of technology companies like myself. And as Ryan mentioned, our company, we developed a genomic biomarker test and a bioinformatics platform to help identify people who are at higher risk for mental health disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorder, which I'll tell you more about in a moment. But first, I'd like to congratulate today's graduates and wish you much success in your startup journey. And I'd like to thank Ryan and the rest of the Founders Institute team for inviting me today. And I was actually very surprised to get the invitation, because honestly, my company is probably not that much further along than many of you on this call and who are graduating today. In fact, about a year and a half ago, we were very close to essentially dissolving the company. Investors weren't interested. We had debt in the 6 figures. Our partners weren't talking to us. And as of today, we recently raised about $2.5 million in a seed fundraise. We've earned about $3 million in revenue. And we just turned in a pre-submission package to the FDA, and we're preparing for our Series A. And a lot of this was all accomplished during a global pandemic. The only variable that really changed is that we have the right leadership team in place now. And so I want you to walk away at the end of this understanding the importance of building a strong and cohesive leadership team, and how essential it is to a startup. So first, I'll share my screen and tell you a little bit more about myself and my company. And I know I'm biased, but I think we're doing some really cool stuff here. So hold on, let me share. All right. So like I mentioned, I'm a veteran. I retired in 2018 with 23 years total between the Air Force and the U.S. Public Health Service. I was an officer and an engineer. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and graduated from the Air Force Academy in 1995. And while serving in the Air Force, I deployed to the Middle East. I deployed to Eastern Europe for the Kosovo War, deployed to Africa. But it was actually a deployment to ground zero following the 9/11 attacks, which got me interested in mental health. And this photo here is essentially a bodega that was converted into a medical station at the World Trade Center following the 9/11 attacks. And I served as the preventive medicine officer. And so it was my job to protect my team from the environmental hazards. And in fact, 20 years later, I'm still getting annual screenings to this event to make sure nothing is wrong because of the toxicities in the air. But it was really not just the physical, but the mental impact really on my team, the community, the first responders, especially those firefighters who watched their brothers crushed by 100-story buildings. And that had a profound impact on me, and it inspired me to search for better solutions for mental health. So 9/11 also, as you know, resulted in fighting in 2 wars over the last 20 years. And one of the signature wounds of these wars has been PTSD. And when I think about these wars, I think about individuals like my friend Todd. I actually met him at Stanford Business School, and he had shared with me after he learned about our company that he was a special forces operator, served 4 tours in Afghanistan, and went undiagnosed with PTSD for about 7 years before he was diagnosed and turned his life around. Once he received treatment, excuse me, I think there's some type of, are you hearing a noise here?
Yeah, we're hearing it too.
Okay.
There we go, it's gone.
Okay. All right, can you still, let me share it again here. Perfect. So yeah, as I was mentioning, so Todd, he spent about 7 years struggling with PTSD, and he was able to turn his life around eventually after getting treatment. And Todd's a success story, but he didn't have to lose 7 years of his life because the tools that we have just aren't, in my opinion, adequate to help these individuals, particularly finding that they're being challenged early in the process. And Todd's a success story, right? He eventually went on to attend Stanford Business School, became an entrepreneur. But a lot of veterans in our country aren't as lucky. In fact, there are 22 veterans that commit suicide every day, in large part because there are diagnostic barriers. Our current healthcare system addresses mental health, and the way I like to describe it is by waiting for the individual to sort of fall off the cliff, and then you have the ambulance at the bottom of that cliff waiting to help the individual, when what we need to do is really have some signs and barriers at the top of the cliff and look at prevention. And that's because we use surveys. Surveys are very, very subjective instruments. So imagine if you had cancer or COVID and they used a survey to diagnose those conditions. It just wouldn't be acceptable. And through the power of genomics, we now have the technology to actually do that and get some insightful insights on mental health conditions like PTSD based on your genomics. And so as an engineer, I understand the worst way to address a problem is downstream. You have to go upstream. You have to get as close as possible to the root cause. And again, put those signs at the top of the cliff. And we can do that through genomics. So we're commercializing our test we call Trugen1, which identifies an individual's susceptibility to PTSD. This is technology we actually licensed from Mount Sinai, and we've been working to commercialize it. And so it's based on some very interesting work that was done in research on 9/11 first responders, just so happens. And even before that, markers that were found based off of research that looking at epigenetic research that was looking at Holocaust survivors and their descendants. So Dr. Rachel Ehud is one of the one of the inventors and highly regarded in this field. So I wanted to give acknowledgement of that. And the other thing we're developing, not just the markers, but we also have a bioinformatics engine that we developed as well. So when you sequence DNA, RNA, you generate a lot of data, and that data has to be analyzed. And so when you layer machine learning, AI, predictive modeling, then you can continue to refine the insights for clinical use. And so that's what we're working on, and we're very excited by that work. And I also want to mention that PTSD is not just a veteran issue. That's been highlighted by COVID. A lot of frontline workers have been affected by PTSD, particularly healthcare providers. And in fact, prior to COVID, it was estimated by a study that the cost burden for PTSD will be $6 trillion by 2030, 13 times greater than cancer. And so the other thing I like to mention is that we're working with some great partners right now. We're working with the Canadian military. We're doing a study with them. In fact, we have a contract with them using our test for research purposes, looking at Canadian Special Forces who've been exposed to combat. We have a collaboration agreement with the VA, and we're also working with the Department of Defense as well. We're working with private healthcare systems. Sanford Health is a large healthcare system, largest in the Midwest. They invested in our company, and they're also a great partner. And so I just wanted to sort of mention some of this and tell you a little bit about our team. And so this is our team here, and actually I'm gonna go back to my team here. I want to first start with this quote here. And it's a quote by Jim Collins, and in fact, he's one of my favorite authors. And if you're not familiar with him, he's written Good to Great, Great by Choice, and Built to Last. And another author I would also recommend is Lencioni, Patrick Lencioni. He's the author of the book called The Advantage and the 5 dysfunctions of a team. So I wanted to mention that real quick if you want to take some notes on that. But I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and they were interviewing Jim Collins, and he made a comment that I think nicely summarizes the point that I want to get across today. And essentially, he says, when you put the right people who you trust, who are selected for their values and their judgment, next to a highly replicable, disciplined recipe, you put those things together, and you have a great company. So what let's break down those two things here. First, you have that highly repeatable, disciplined recipe, right? And that includes things like your business model, achieving product market fit, generating recurring revenue. And if you break down all those things, it's essentially about your understanding of numbers and data, which is essentially math. I mean, so even your product, if you're building software, you're putting together ones and zeros, and with DNA, it's manipulation of A, C, G's, and T's. But there's no math and there's no algorithm for building a strong, cohesive team. It's very touchy-feely. And so I think you're always at the risk of paying less attention to that because of it. And then the other part of that component is the right people. So who are the right people? It's essentially, he breaks it down in the quote. People you trust because of their values and judgment. And so I want to focus on values for part of this or the rest of this talk, because that's the DNA of an organization. It's the foundation for building your company and your company's culture. It should drive your decision-making process and result in higher quality decisions, to include decisions like who are you going to recruit, reward, and retain as team members in your company. And a successful company is essentially the result of a long sequence of quality decisions, especially if you have limited time, information, and resources. So it's important that you make these quality decisions. And not having the right team with aligned values can be a showstopper, or at least it was for us. And even with a degree of success, having a degree of success, it's unlikely to be sustainable success with misaligned values. it's like I say it's like when you you button that top button on your shirt incorrectly, and then all the buttons below that get misaligned as well. And so I think it's really important, and I think that's a good analogy to make sure that top cohesive leadership team for a startup is aligned. And again, I know it's very touchy-feely. It's not as exciting as the math and data stuff, especially if you're an engineering type like me. So let me kind of go back to my team here. And I already told you a little bit about my experiences at Ground Zero. I also worked at the FDA for about 9 years, regulating medical devices. I was the chief of neurology devices before I left, and went to work for the Defense and Veterans Brain Injury Center. I served as their chief of staff. It was a 300-person organization, and I ran the operations. And a lot of the work I was doing was really around bringing the right people into the team. So this is very near and dear to me, this topic. And I also want to mention our chief medical officer, Dr. Ann Niclario, 30-year Army veteran. Highly dedicated individual. She served as a deputy surgeon of the United States Army in Europe and a command surgeon for the Army National Guard. She literally wrote the book called Women in Combat. So she's an author of that. It was a really great book on that. And Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, he's a PhD graduate of Rockefeller University, worked at the VA for about 9 years, working in genomics programs and in neurology as well. Also worked in pharma. So have a fantastic team, and we all have different personalities. So that's one thing. But at the same time, we all have a passion for the mission. We understand our roles, and our core values are aligned. And that really came into light a couple of months ago because we actually started the process of hiring some more people onto the team. And so we worked with the consultant on that. And she asked us a simple question, which was essentially describe the type of person that you enjoy working with. And what I'm going to do right now is actually share some of that content with you here, if you bear with me. Yeah, so this is the values and culture brainstorm is what I called it. The type of person that the type of people that we want to bring onto the team. And these are just sort of random comments that we just were throwing out there. And it was very surprising that we were sharing some very similar sentiments. Even again, we all have different personalities, different skill sets that we bring to the table. And, I highlighted a couple of them. Love to see other people be successful. Appreciation for others' talents. When you see others do well, you're likely to jump in and help. So just kind of rolling your sleeves up, jumping in and help. There's enough winning to go around. Someone who's service-oriented. It's not about you. It's about the mission, the vision, and the why. Someone who's ambitious, but in a good way. Doesn't step on other people, not dishonest, not entitled. And there's another quote here, because we're so close to the military. Like I should, someone who's saying I should get a medal out of this. That's not why you do stuff. That's not why you deploy. That's not why you go fight for your country. That's not why you go to work at Ground Zero. It's not for a medal. You do it because you want to serve. And don't make excuses. Don't just do the fun and easy stuff. You need to do certain things because it's what the company needs. I call that eating your vegetables. Certain things that they're not fun. You just got to do them. And then leaders who does, or nothing is below me. So a person that will roll up their sleeves, nothing's below them. If they have to sweep a floor, they'll sweep a floor. So I thought that was absolutely wonderful to hear that from my team. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and let me see if I can get back and just make a couple of final comments. Essentially, in summary, if you're building your team, particularly at startups, vet early, prioritize working with people with aligned values. If you currently have a strong team, protect it. understand why it works, ensure there's clarity around your core values, continue vetting. Even when you start to grow quickly, it becomes even more important. If you have the wrong team, you have to address it, and you have to address it as soon as possible. Don't wish it away. I mean, it's like cancer. It doesn't get better with time, and you can't just ignore it or wish it away. So have those crucial conversations and take the necessary corrective actions. So I thank you for your time, and I will turn it back over to you, Ryan.
Charles, that was awesome. First of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you're doing for the veteran community. I think a lot of people really resonated with your presentation. And also, I love the comment of eating your vegetables. This whole week, I've been eating vegetables. So, that's part of the journey. So I'm going to use that as a takeaway. So thank you for joining us. Feel free to hang out in the chat. If people ever have questions for Charles that they want to connect, we put his LinkedIn in the chat so you can connect. And if you're curious of learning more about Trugenomix, you can also contact me or Charles directly. Happy to share more information. So thank you, Charles, for joining us, and we'll see you in the next event.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. So now we're going to go on to the founder pitch part of the event. And so let me just give you a quick overview of the agenda for this. So the cohort graduated 26 companies, but in the interest of time, because we don't want to have this go on for 3 hours, we're going to present 12 of them today on stage. And so these are recorded presentations, but all of the founders are here. And so if you'd like to connect with any of the companies, they're going to post their LinkedIn into the chat when their pitch is playing, and you'll be able to connect with them directly that way. Founders and alumni, feel free to post your email as well in case people want to connect with you. But definitely, if you have questions at any time, put them into the chat and the founder can address it directly. I'll also put here an overview of all of the companies from a press release that we put out, where you can see all of the companies that are graduating from this cohort. So, Scout, are we ready to start the video presentations?
Hi, my name's Andrew Scott. I'm a co-founder at Analytics, and we build software for small and medium businesses to detect and prevent internal fraud, such as check fraud, invoicing, and expenses fraud, to name a few. Our co-founding team consists of 4, 2 of which in the center here have deep and extensive forensic accounting and fraud investigation expertise. They have discovered and recovered hundreds of millions of dollars of internal fraud. Our full stack developer has extensive and deep experience in fraud and automation software and has built our MVP. And my background is in global award-winning B2B tech marketer. The problem we're solving is small and medium businesses in the US lose money to internal fraud to the tune of over 110 billion every year, and it takes them 24 months in medium time to detect it, and less than 20% have any data continuous monitoring audit controls. Our solution solves that through a SaaS solution that monitors and prevents internal fraud through continuous monitoring of threats, and it detects it in 24 hours, not 24 months. And we also provide automated auditing and control systems through our data analysis. Our product does 3 things. It monitors for any irregular and suspicious payment transactions, and it does that providing real-time alerts across 3 indicators of fraud, risk, and performance for employees, customers, or all 3, from high to low threat levels. And we bring that together to be able to enable the small business and business to control its risk through banking, accounting, and public data being integrated and analyzed to provide them with early warning signs to be able to take actions to mitigate risk in internal fraud. We're integrated with QuickBooks desktop and online versions as part of our go-to-market strategy. Our traction to date, we stress tested and optimized our solution with accounting firms, and we have 5 signed LOIs and more in the pipeline. And we're on target to hit our target of 30 LOIs with construction firms by mid-June. Our business model is subscription. Our aim in 18 months is to sign up 800 users, or 2 per account, or 400 customers with 2.1 million ARR. In 5 years, by the end of 2025, that would move to 40 million ARR, or 8,000 customers, 24,000 users, 3 per account. Our market opportunity we see very much through the lens of small businesses, and we believe that 60% of that market, 32 billion, is accessible to us, driven by trends in the adoption of SaaS and businesses wanting to reduce risk and grow in a way that protects their business. When we dial that back to our immediate opportunity, we're looking at $40 million as our opportunity, or our SOM, 24,000 users, and 20% of 120,000 QuickBooks Advanced users, which is our 20% year-on-year growth for the next couple of years. It's a sweet spot between small and medium businesses, so 50 to 150 companies. Our go-to-market is laser focused on business owners, finance operational leads, businesses with 10 million ARR, high propensity for internal fraud risk. And we will have, again, a very tight focus for customer acquisition through world-class email segmented by industry and opt-in QuickBooks users. And we'll fuel that with content that informs, inspires, and educates across digital touchpoints, especially video and social. Competition, we see an untapped and underserved market when it comes to financial risk management using internal fraud data analytics to mitigate risks for small businesses. Certainly that has been applied to enterprise customers above 1,000 people, but we believe there's a timely opportunity and a large one in the SMB space. We're looking to raise $550,000 to accelerate customer acquisition to hit our goal of 2.1 million ARR in 18 months, and we'll split that equally pretty much through growth, new hires, and product development. Thank you very much.
Hi, welcome to PT Circle, creating digital physical therapy clinics. My name is Freshda. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and I work with my advisor, Dr. Papa. She's the head of physical therapy department at the University of North Georgia. The problem we're trying to solve is that employed physical therapists are burnt out and overworked, but they hit the income ceiling of $75K year after year with no pay raise. And starting a clinic is costly and hard. Now, physical therapists can start their very own business on a digital space. They can double their income, own 100% of their patients, and get exposure to more patients. Why now? Because for the first time in history, we have permanent insurance parity for telehealth services. The adoption of telehealth in physical therapy surged from 0% to 98%, and many studies prove the effectiveness of remote physical therapy. In PT Circle, physical therapists can create their digital clinic on their own terms. They can upload their exercise videos in a space called the General Library, where everyone has access to. By doing so, they put themselves on the display and can reach out to more patients and actually have a voice in the platform. What makes us unique is that we use those exercise videos to train the computer vision algorithms. This creates a reinforcing loop that makes those algorithms more and more accurate to the point where we can simulate a virtual coach. As for patients, they can easily book an appointment, get prescribed exercise videos, and exercise in front of the virtual coach. The benefit of this system is that patients are no longer left alone in their home exercise program. Our initial product is developed and ready. Physical therapists signed up for our service, and our goal for this month is to start onboarding our first customers. We take 20% fee on each transaction, but we also offer bundles for multiple sessions. On average, patients need 10 sessions, so 570,000 patients will make up for 5.7 million visits. The average cost of a physical therapy session is about $75. We take $15, and our projected revenue by 2026 is $86 million. We are aiming for 1,500 physical therapists. With a minimum of 80 sessions per week per therapist, we can generate $86 million. Later, we will expand to other cities, but still target only the musculoskeletal conditions. But eventually, we can enter other branches of physical therapy to target a $4.5 billion market. Higher discoverability and computer vision set us apart from other services, but we also provide community and match patients to physical therapists. And unlike others, we promote autonomy for physical therapists. And the initial customer archetype is new grad PTs. They're ambitious, they're tech savvy, and they love sharing content. We begin with Los Angeles and 2 other major cities with the most number of physical therapists in the US. Our patient adoption strategy is content marketing about niche musculoskeletal conditions. And right now, we're looking for a technical co-founder to join the circle.